very good afternoon to our cherished listeners. Once again, it's always exciting to come your way every Wednesday with your favorite business development program on Radio Masterclass. It's the 19th of June already today, halfway through the year, halfway through the month of June. Like we always say here on the show, if there's something you want to start, there's something you want to do, a business you want to start, an endeavor, you just want to be able to start something new, we always say that it's better to start late than never to start. We're only halfway through the year, and so we've already spent 6 months, but you've still got 6 months to go. So let us start something by all means, so that at the end of the year we can look back and say we're glad that we started. Our prayer, as has always been here on the show, is that God definitely bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. And so on this note, we welcome all of you, our cherished listeners, to today's show here on Masterclass. Just remind you that Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and brought to us by GOIL. GOIL, they say good energy. GOIL, Gengara Yendia. This program airs every Wednesday at 1:15 p.m. and runs all the way through to 2 p.m. here on your superstation, Joy 99.7. My name, as always, is Yabanafo, and I am your host for the show. And so in the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about health and safety at the workplace. Last week, we diverted just a little bit and we spent some time with one of our favorite resource persons. He's also one of our very first resource persons here on the show in 2017 when we started, in the person of Thompson Chua. Good afternoon to you, Thompson, if you're listening. And he helped us have a very good discussion on how to grow your business through innovation. You know, most of the times when we talk about growing your business, you're thinking of what new thing can I do? And we always seem to think that new things should be additions. But new things can also be subtractions. And when I say subtractions, I mean taking out certain things you're doing which is not benefiting your business. And that also means that every now and again you need to step back, look at the business that you're running, look at your processes. What is it that I'm doing that I can do differently? What is it that I'm doing that I can do better? What is it that I'm doing that I need to completely change? And here's what he was talking about when he referred to innovation. And here, innovation did not even refer to technology. It just was in reference to looking at your internal business processes and then trying to do something different to make your business grow. Today we move on with our discussion, and like I always say, this show is built for you, the entrepreneur, you who wants to do something for yourself. We'll be spending time in the studio in the next couple of minutes with another wonderful gentleman. I'm excited to have him here in the studio. I'm looking at him, so if you want to see what's going on in the studio, you can go to our Facebook page, My Joy Online on Facebook. We're streaming live, and then you can see what's going on in the studio. But he happens to be, should I say, a revolutionary young man in Ghana in the field of entrepreneurship, and he's also the founder and executive director of the Reach Out to Future Leaders movement, which is a community-based development organization here in Ghana. What is peculiar about his approach, and he'll be sharing with us very shortly, is that he looks at the area of providing sustenance or sustainability within an existing organization. So, for example, if you took, let's say, a school, if you took a community, he helps people to produce what they consume. I won't take the wind out of his sail. He will be spending some more time with us here in the studio, and he'll tell us exactly what it is that he does. And he'll tell us a story and the success of his endeavor, why that choice, why that matrix in terms of approach, what the benefit is, how we can all be a part of it or support it, if we want to be able to support it, and what the benefits are. People are not only looking to start new things, people are also looking for ideas. So when they hear that someone is doing something, then clearly that becomes encouragement for them to also begin to look in that direction. So my guest for today's show is none other than Mr. Alfred Godwin Ejabing. I hope I got the name right.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Alfred. You're welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here. I've got a long biography. I don't think I can read all, but one of the things I know is that you have received recognition for your work, both from academic institutions and from non-academic institutions. You received something from Makerere University in Uganda?
Yes.
What was that about? That was for, it was called the SETA Africa. What? Tell us about it.
Good afternoon, Yao, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. So in 2014, I was among 23 young people who were selected by Makerere University Business School to be awarded the SET Africa Fellowship. So SET Africa means Social Entrepreneurs Transforming Africa. So it was a fellowship that was meant for young people, to support young people in building their capacity to advance the change they are already creating in their local communities.
Right. This was in which year, sorry?
2014.
And in 2017, you also won another award.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So in 2017, I got a small grant from the U.S. Embassy in Accra, supported through the U.S. Department of State, to pilot our school farms program in the Volta region, 4 schools in the Volta region.
Right. So that was a grant.
Yes.
But in 2016, you came second place in the 2016 West Africa Regional Mandela Washington Fellows Regional Conference pitch.
Yes. So in 2015, I was fortunate to be selected as part of Mandela Washington Fellows just after my first degree. That's in the University of Cape Coast. So in 2016...
UCC?
Yes.
Okay. University of Choice?
University of Choice, of course.
Your boy is in the studio. What hall were you in?
Kwame Nkrumah Hall.
You're in Kwame Nkrumah?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say Casford.
No. Leadership by example all the way.
Okay, so continue.
Thank you very much. So in 2016, I participated in a pitch competition, which I won. It was a fully funded trip to the United Kingdom to do an internship with True Africa, which is a multimedia firm. So I had that opportunity to do that through the pitch competition.
We are going to be going into your story very shortly and how it dovetails into entrepreneurship, because you are some kind of social entrepreneur. So you help with social interventions and at the same time have a sort of linkage to entrepreneurship. So you would be a socialist if I were to hazard a guess. But let's just tone down a bit, take it two notches down. Who is Alfred? I'm not going to talk about your entire life, just so people can connect. But let's start with school. What schools did you go to?
So I grew up in Ho. I went to Hodume RC Primary and GSS School. Okay. From there, I went to Bishop Herman College.
Oh, wow. So okay, so all the Bishop Herman boys.
Yes. I went to Bishop Herman College. From there, I proceeded to University of Cape Coast, where I studied environmental science for my first degree. Currently just finishing up my master's program with the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at the University of Ghana.
So it will be safe to say you are a homegrown solution.
Yes, I am.
What are the old students of Bishop Herman called?
Bobu.
Okay, so all the Bobu guys, your voice in the studio. By all means, keep your dialogue right here. Let's go into your story. How do you start what you do? What was the motivation? How did you end up in this kind of approach which ties in entrepreneurship with social intervention? Because what you're doing now, one of the key things or one of the flagship things you're doing is school farms. Now, I remember back in the day, we used to go to the school farm and we used to weed up a bit, and it was fun knowing that you were part of what was coming to the dining hall. But farming today, it's a whole different story. I'm sure that Ministry of Agriculture will have their time when you're on the show. But education about farming today, it's not just about growing what you eat, but knowing the value of it in your education process as a child growing up. And so there's this funny joke that we always tell, that in a toddler class, the question was asked, where do tomatoes come from? I'm sure you've heard that joke.
Yes.
And a very eager child in the corner just raises his hand and says, me, and says, yes, you, where do tomatoes come from? So they come from the shopping mall.
That's what
we're losing the value.
Yes,
of
the
all
disconnect.
There's a disconnect somewhere. Yeah. So take us away for the next couple of minutes. Tell us how you came to do what you're doing now, and how it ties into entrepreneurship. And then we'll open the phone lines at some point so our listeners can be a part of it. If you're just listening or you just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. We're spending time in the studio with Alfred Godwin Ajabing, who is, I don't know what to call him, but he's an entrepreneur with a social intervention angle as well. And we'll be having that discussion with him on what he's done so far and how we can be a part of what he's done. If you want to send us a comment, you can do that on 0244 340 437. That's 0244 340 437. Just also remind us that today's show is brought to us by Goil. Goil, they say good energy. Goil, Genara, Yendia. So, Alfred, let's start your conversation. How did you end up doing this? What is it about? And how different is it? Let's talk.
Thank you, Yo. I am a young man who is interested in social innovation because I believe they hold practical alternatives or solutions to the many problems that we face. And young people are enthused with a lot of energy. So by introducing them to the concept of social innovation, we can then help them figure a way out of building sustainable solutions that address the complex, evolving problems that we face as a community. In 2014, Ghana, by then, Joy FM also reported it. There was a widespread problem with funding of school meals in Ghana. Mostly the problem was prevalent in the northern region. So as an undergraduate student in the University of Cape Coast, I decided to mobilize some few friends of mine to ask, what can we do differently? How can we solve the problem that is being confronted? It seemed to be a perennial problem. So a few friends, about 5 of us, came together to develop a solution. But our approach was so wrong. We just took information from the media and we developed solution ourselves, and fortunately that coincided with the award that I got from Makerere University Business School in Uganda. So I got some small grant to pilot it. So we went to the northern region during our long vac between June and July. When we got there, we had in our hands a solution we believed that would work. So we began implementing it, and we faced a lot of challenges. So we had to come back and re-strategize. So by re-strategize, we adopted a human-centered design approach to solving the problem. We worked with the community, spent more time to understand the root of the problem. It was there that we found out that money was not peculiarly the solution to the problem that we were facing. It has to do with more. They had issues with fluctuating prices of food, supply chain management, and so on and so forth. So we decided to get down and develop the solution. Our approach was, what if the schools grow their own food? How would it help the problem? How would it help the problem? So we developed a business model together with the community around this. So we also realized that these schools that suffered the problem most were located in the rural regions. They had arable lands, they had affordable or cost-effective labor, and they also had community support. So we tapped into this energy and created a business model through which they can be able to sustainably address the problem of food security. And after our pilot, we realized that per term, which was by then about 3 months or 4 months in school, we saw a 40% reduction in the feeding budget with just a limited investment. Then, upon piloting that for another 2 years, we saw an opportunity. The opportunity was, how can we continue to pilot this project without depending on donor partners? Because that also comes into question. So we went further to the design table, talked with the community, spoke with the PTA, spoke with the teachers, and so on and so forth. And we realized that if we do a one-time investment, then through our model, the community should be able to reinvest part of the produce and should be able to use some of the harvest to support their meals whilst in school. So we've done this over and over again. We went from the northern region, we went to Upper West, we came to the Volta region, worked with about 2 or 3 schools in the Volta region, and we've seen this work over the time. Although there were challenges over the time, we were able to address these challenges. So for me, the free senior high school policy is such one that is innovative, that is great, that has good intention. Despite the challenges it's facing now, I believe that adopting our school farms project model can be able to reduce at least more than 20% of the budget that is invested in school, free senior high school.
Right. Okay. So I'm just going to ask a few questions just to push the discussion a bit further. What exactly is the model that you run? Because I've heard keywords like community, arable land, school authorities. I'm sure at some point it also involves the students, if not because they're involved in the growing of the crops just for their own experience and for their own learning curve. They are the ones who eat the food that is grown. What is a model that you're running? I'll come into the detail later, but what is a model? If I want to put a finger on the model you're running, first of all, what do you call it? And then what is it? Can you explain it to us?
Okay, so our school farms model operates on a stakeholder model. Okay, I'll put it. So we collaborate with local Ministry of Food and Agriculture that provide extensive extension service, and also provide, as part of the Food for Jobs campaign, there are some crops, some seedlings, and some seeds that are 50% subsidized. So we collaborate with the local Ministry of Food and Agriculture Extension Service to have access to that. We collaborate with communities where schools don't have land to provide land, as we did in Savelugu Senior High School. The local chief gave us access to about 3 to 5 acres of land for the projects. We also collaborate with the ministry, the local Ghana Education Service, for support for the project also. So what we do essentially is to try as much as possible. We categorize the schools into 3. There is a first stage school, second stage school, and third stage school. With the first stage schools, they are schools that are in the rural sectors. They have limited government support, so on and so forth. So we try as much as possible to give them a full-time investment without any equity, any form of equity. With time, when the program is running in the following year, we take 40% of what the return on investment that comes, and 50% of that goes to supporting their school meals, and the remaining is reinvested into the farms with other. It's not so much of a perfect share system. So we try as much as possible to look for other support from elsewhere to strengthen the project. At times, we even reduce our 40% to about 10%. So as time goes on, builds up, you see the school is beginning to embrace it. There is resilience and so on in the project. So the food systems of these schools are then becoming more secure and sustainable with time.
Right. I mean, here on the show, we have learned in times past, in previous discussions with other resource persons, that one of the key things in entrepreneurship is to find a specific need. And let that find be your find, or a researched find by someone else. I say research because you need information.
Yeah.
If it's your find, all the better, because then you have the conviction about it. Because at some point it's going to get difficult and you're going to feel like stopping. But because you probably are the vision holder and you know what you want to do, you keep fighting, you keep pushing it. So you found the need, and the need was that very small problem. You found there was a perennial problem in school feeding in some portions of the country, and that was based on different parameters or different things contributed to it, but you decided to do something about it. So you started looking for information. I think the story sort of goes very quickly to we started and we engaged and all of that. And all
Yes. Yeah.
I always like to hear the story, because there's a portion where you said we went in, we tried the model, it didn't work, and then we came back and we re-strategized it. I have a feeling we're missing some of the detail there. I will come to the financing and the cost sharing and the equity sharing shortly, because then it's also a business.
Yes.
So we need to know how it's working. And one of the things that excites me, before you even answer your question, is that I see the creation of a value chain.
Yeah, there is.
In there, which you're employing people, you're giving value to those who are buying the produce.
Yeah.
Is there there's a complete value chain in there. But let's come back to your story. What were some of the challenges that you faced in the beginning? What are some of the challenges you face today? Let's stick on challenges for now, then we can move the discussion on.
Thank you, Yao. So when we started in 2014, the media reported that the problem had to do with limited government funding. So we went to the north, we mobilized some money, we spoke with the stakeholders of the school to find out how much.
Did you go to the GES office, the education office?
No, we went to the schools, straight to the schools. Yes. Sometimes we want to work directly with the schools at times. So we ask them how much is needed to solve this problem. Then they gave us a quote. But the headmaster was quick to say money was not only the problem. They had other problems as well. They are in debt. Okay, with their suppliers are not supplying. Some of them had to travel all the way to Burkina Faso to buy grains. So that was a major problem. So we saw a business opportunity there, and we felt by creating these farms and these schools, they can sustainably be able to produce for themselves and also feed the national food buffer stock company.
Okay, so by making this, and I'm trying to be, systematic so that we can understand this. You saw a gap. One of the things they had, like you said, they had problems with servicing their debts, debt servicing. They had problems with transport. They had problems with. But one of the things you wanted to make available was make the grain available, make the produce available. So I'm assuming that transport was part of that arrangement. You would make it available to them in the school, so that if the chief gave you land 10 miles away, the food would find its way to the school somehow under your arrangement.
Yes. So let me come in quickly here to say that much of the work we do depends on leadership. The headmaster is showing leadership, showing commitment, and so on and so forth. Because we worked with the PTA as well. We drew our budget to get in the school. We did our projections and so on and so forth. But you realize that we classify the components of the budget into the ones that we could get in kind and the one that we could get in cash. And to our amazement, the ones we got in kind were more than the one that we were going to spend money on.
Right.
For instance, we got tractor service from the MOFA. They plowed it for free. We got some support from the Parent Teachers Association. So these stakeholders are very key. And the headmaster was also very instrumental to get us have access to the local district chief executive then to get some further resources. We get some community members to work on the farm. So there was other arrangements as well for us to pay for clearing of the place and so on, cultivating. And the students themselves helped us in sowing this produce. So with time, as I sat back to monitor and to see what was going on, I felt that there was more we could do than just helping schools grow their own food. The opportunity I saw was developing local agriculture skills development for these rural young people, because they were also faced with the challenges of unemployment and so on and so forth. So I felt that by creating a program that gives them the skill sets to be able to participate in the value chain of agriculture, then it will be an opportunity to create a livelihood source. So that was what. So one step led to another, and in each time I saw an opportunity for me to create a business value.
So just to do a quick count of the stakeholders, you have the students.
Yes, we have the students, we have the Parent Teachers Association, we have the community leaders, we have the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, we also have the local assembly. So they're above. And we also have, in the Volta region, we got some support from private sector. AgriSeed collaborated with us. Yes, AgriSeed collaborated with us. Okay, so they are our major seed supplying input supplier. So we collaborated with them also. So we continue to enjoy the relationship and the discounts from them as well to keep this program running.
Do you limit yourself to, I'll come to financing very shortly, but do you limit yourself to growing only what the school requires? Or do you take the opportunity, because this is growing, now you're getting participation from private sector, you're getting participation from government, the table is getting bigger and bigger, people are coming in with equity and all of that. I'm sure at some point some businessmen will come in and begin to bring you some models.
I look forward to that.
Do you only grow what the school requires, or do you take the opportunity to grow and cross? Because you see, I ask this question because across the country, for example, the requirements may slightly differ. Grain is grain everywhere you go, but you find that certain staples will be more akin to certain areas because of the geographical location. And so the diet will also change slightly, which will inform what you grow. You find that you may have need in, let's say, in the western region, you find different needs in the northern region, but you have more land in the northern region than you do in the western region. Would you still go out to produce a lot more and transport across? Are you doing that now?
So what we do is 60% of what is cultivated focuses on school meals. The remaining has a business value on its own. So we try as much as possible to ensure that what is cultivated is locally planned, chosen. We focus on the staple crops of the schools. Some schools we focus on vegetables. So depending on the demand of the school as it stands now.
So the direction is driven by
locally driven.
Right. How do you handle storage? And I know this will be done at the school level, but obviously it will be of importance to you. How do you handle storage?
So there are some vegetables that we grow that are in high demand. So we did some little bit of market survey to identify our markets and our market. So what we did essentially is whenever we harvest, it's in demand. Most of the crops we grow are in demand crops. So they get finished before it arrives. So agriculture is risk intensive. Okay, so you have to be smart about it. You have to treat it as a business. You have to try as much as possible to reduce risks, to reduce losses, and so on and so forth. So I know the various crops that you can grow, and within a day they'll get finished. You get markets for them, and you get a good value actually for them. So we try to integrate this in the model. So 60% of what is cultivated, it focuses on school meals. The 40% has a business value.
Talk to me about, I know finance. I know you mentioned private people coming in, equity and all of that, giving seed and all of that. Let's expand on that a bit. And I want you to tie that question in before I open the phone lines to how people can be a part of it. How have you raised financing? I know that it's been reduced to what the activities are. So, for example, MOFA has plowed for free. Some private institutions have given you seed for free. And, people have given different services just because they want to be a part of that service. PTA, it's people who form the PTA. And some of these people are in either government or private endeavor. And so they will bring their effort to bear at the table. But essentially, how have you raised financing?
So, in 2014, we got some funding from Makerere University Business School as an award grants that we used for the initial pilot. Subsequently, in 2017, the U.S. Embassy gave us some funding. So that was the initial funding that we had recently to pilot the projects in the Volta region, in about 3 to 4 schools in the Volta region.
Right.
So that was the initial one. So we had a budget. We reached out to private institutions. We reached out to public institutions because all these stakeholders, what they do in essence is to make your project cost effective. So just as I said, we classify them into in-kind and in-cash budget, and we saw that the in-kind one was more than the cash, the one that we have to spend money on. So that was what we did essentially. So it was with support from the U.S. Embassy.
Okay, and this and many other kinds of support keeps coming in because it's a noble thing you're doing. So this is how you raise financing for your projects.
Yes, we also have open global giving account where we crowdfund. So we have a wonderful team that supports us raise money to cater for our administrative costs, because we're trying as much as possible that all our administrative costs is covered by either grant or the profit that we make. But in our pilot phase, we having some few challenges, but we also failing forward. We are learning so fast, and this is a project I believe that will go a long way to feed a lot of schools and to reduce the school feeding budget by more than 30%.
Still on financing, I will come back to you shortly because you mentioned keywords like administrative costs, profits, and all of that. So obviously, then some still has to take place there. But I'll come back to you shortly. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your Superstation. We're spending time in the studio with Alfred Ajabing, and he essentially is like a social entrepreneur. He does that also through entrepreneurship. And we're having some discussions here in the studio on some of the things he has done. He talks strongly about their flagship activity, which is school farms, and getting a lot of people to come to the table to help. Essentially, the objective is to be able to make sure that our students in our various schools have healthy and wholesome meals at very reduced or next to nothing cost, and at the same time helping the communities within which this takes place. It's a really exciting model. Now, the next question I'm going to be asking him is how we can all be a part of what he is doing and increase and maximize that equity, but we will be doing that right after this.
The masterclass is in session, and you can interact with us via Facebook at Joy Business or at Joy 99.7 FM. And if you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM. Don't forget to hashtag masterclass. You can also send us a text on 1422 across all networks, or join the WhatsApp conversation on 0244 340437, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Right, if you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass on your Superstation. So, do you drive any kind of automobile or vehicle? If you do, then here's good information for you. Goil's Super New Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 loops are the best engine oils for your vehicle. They are specially engineered engine oils which efficiently work on all modern petrol and diesel engines. They clean, they protect, they reduce fuel consumption, and they also prolong oil change intervals. They also help enhance your energy performance right from when you switch on till when you switch off. Go to any Goil filling station today and grab the new Goil Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 engine oils for superior vehicle performance. Goil, they say good energy. Goil, Yenara, Yendia. So coming back to our discussion, and I just want to put the phone lines out quickly so that our listeners can begin to call in and be a part of the discussion. If you want to give us a call, join the discussion here. We're talking about, I don't want to call it planting for food and crops. This is social intervention and helping
school farms.
School farms. We're talking about school farms. School farms and also tying it to entrepreneurship. How can we be a part of it? Give us a call, 0302-216-541. That's 0302-216-541. We're having a discussion here with a resource person, Alfred Ajabing, who is also very deeply involved in this, and he already is rolling it out and it's working. So give us a call, let's have a conversation. If you want to send us a comment, you can also do so on 0244 340437. So Alfred, you're helping people. Have you been able to measure the value that this brings? And we'll come back to finances shortly, but have you been able to measure the value that this adds to the life of the local folk in the various communities? You give them jobs to do. Naturally, they'll get some of the produce you need to take home on a subsistence level. What other benefit do they get?
Thank you very much, Yao. The security of our food depends upon rural sectors, okay? And in 2015, I was invited to Sumanya to a youth forum in agriculture. And more than 90% of those in the room were more than 50%. So in addressing them, I asked them, where are the young people? And they told us that the young people are no more interested in agriculture. MOFA has it that the average farmer in Ghana is 55%. There are a lot of challenges that the young people are facing in agriculture that should be addressed. Young people, unless they see an economic value in agriculture, would not engage in the sector. We have a huge unemployment rate. We have young people leaving the rural sector, coming to the urban sector for unexisting jobs and so on and so forth. For me, I see so much value because they have strength. Agriculture is their culture. They grew up with it. So they have local skills. They have ingenuity and so on and so forth. So I saw a potential in that to bridge the gap and get more young people into agriculture, especially the production sector. Then going forward, I can then expose them to the entire value chain of agriculture and see how I link them into it. That also ties in with our agro mentoring program. So we have an initiative where we are matching local rural agropreneurs with rural young people during their long vac. We are yet to pilot that in July, hopefully. So what we're doing in essence is that there should be a transfer of skills.
Right.
Okay, there should be a transfer of skills, and that's going to bring a lot of people to stay in the rural sector and also to find. I always say that agriculture, the value chain of agriculture should not only be limited to the urban space. Okay, there are a lot of limitations. It has to go with infrastructure and so on. Because if I tell you, would you go to the village? Would you stay there to invest in agriculture and stay there? Because agriculture should be treated as a full-time job. And in the rural sectors, there are challenges with roads. There is no internet service. There are problems with electricity. You would not want to go there. So government, through the support, should be able to identify these food baskets, these communities, and extend this infrastructural support to these communities. Then it can create a conducive environment for young people to participate meaningfully in agriculture, in the value chain of agriculture.
Right. So essentially, apart from being a part of something that's good, they get to learn, because you have these mentoring programs that teaches them. They get to transfer that skill to their own individual endeavors. And that's part of the value that they get.
Yes, the social
obviously
value.
Because then it becomes continuous.
Yes.
And it depends on how much they're able to put out. They will definitely get more than enough value for it. Let me ask about how people can be a part of this. I think I have a caller on the line. Let's do the call quickly and we'll come back. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Prince, and I'm calling from Atomic.
Talk to me, Prince. You're welcome to the show.
I want to congratulate Alfred for what he's doing.
Right.
It's a good job, and I am interested in getting in touch with him. I have similar ideas, probably taking it from a different perspective, and I'm sure probably because he already has contacts with agencies like the U.S. Embassy,
right.
Probably we could get some funding and do some other aspects of things that can benefit this country.
Right. Thank you so much, Prince. I will have him put his phone number out before the end of the show so that people who want to be a part of this can help. People also have equity. They have, let's say, haulage. They have trucks. They want to be able to help. Okay, so first of all, where are your offices?
So we are in the Volta region, Ho. That's where we are based.
Right.
We started from the Volta region, so we are in Ho.
Okay. And if I come to Ho today, what am I looking for? What's the name of the company?
So Reach Out to Future Leaders Movement.
Reach Out Future Leaders Movement. That's what I'm looking at.
Yes, Reach Out to Future Leaders Movement.
Where in Ho is your office? It's not like I know Ho, but I'm sure somebody does.
Okay, so number 4 Agric Road.
Okay.
ECG Kua Office Block.
Right.
Yeah.
And are there any numbers to call?
Yes.
Okay, so can you put those numbers out for us?
020-3304-128.
Okay, can you take it again very slowly this time?
020-3304-128. Or you can send an email to feed@schoolfarms.org. feed@schoolfarms.org.
Okay.
ORG.
Right. These schools you've worked with, about how many schools have you worked with so far?
In all 6 schools in 3 regions.
6 schools in 3 regions. Over what period?
Over 4 years, almost 4 years.
Over 4 years.
Yes.
Have you written to the Ministry of Education or Agriculture for that matter and told them what you are doing?
Yeah, so we reached out to the regional ministry, Ghana Education Service, and also local partners. So our strategy is for the next 5 years, we should be able to pilot our project.
No, I'm trying to draw attention to you here. So have you written to them?
We haven't done that.
You haven't done that because this is great, and this could easily complement government effort. That's why I'm talking about it. Because it's a good thing. You can help people can be a part of it, even from the private sector, and bring you equity that may not be in cash. But it may very well be in other things you'd have spent money to buy. People are listening this afternoon and they want to be a part of it. What areas will you not go into now because you haven't grown there? Or if I wanted to help, what are some of the things that very quickly, can you give us a list of things that people can bring to the table? Naturally, it will go through discussion, and let me just put a disclaimer out: terms and conditions apply. but what can people do to become a part of what you are doing? Because it's changing lives, it's feeding our children, it's creating jobs for the community, it's putting our people to work, so the devil doesn't find work for idle hands. It's creating a complete value chain for our people. So, what else can people bring to the table?
Okay, so through our agro-mentoring program or entrepreneurship program, we're trying very much to introduce rural young people to modern methods of doing agriculture. So things like greenhouse, they haven't seen it before. They don't know how drones are even used in agriculture for aerial mapping and monitoring and so on and so forth. They don't know how drip irrigation. For the first time, we sent drip irrigation technology to Chawenu for Sokode Senior High School, and the young people were amazed about how this technology was working. So we're trying as much as possible to explore opportunities where modern tools, modern equipments, because they become attractive for young people, and then they can start nurturing their potential interest in agriculture. So we try and produce also crops, seedlings, seeds, and so on. We're reaching out to
technology, seedlings,
inputs,
inputs,
yes,
even ideas,
consultations as well.
People are good with land issues.
The whole idea is to scale it across the country, and with time also see how our neighboring countries can also benefit from it. So we are looking at the bigger picture.
Let's finish Ghana first. And when we get it right here, then we can go. This is really exciting. I mean, we're running out of time here. I've got Anthony Tekwete on social media. He says, I like what Alfred is talking about because I seem to have an idea on rural farming. Thank you so much for your show, Alfred. I've also got another person here. This one says, great job, Alfred. Keep making us proud. This is from Damaris to 4. I don't know if you know Damaris. Okay, I've also got one here from Walter in Ho. He said, God bless you. Okay, I think this is different. But essentially, there are people on social media saying that they're happy with what you're doing. What's our takeout in 1 minute from today's discussion? You are creating value. You are also bringing a business twist to it, so people can be able to negotiate. When I put this in and we blow it up to this level, I can do X, Y, Z. So there's an administrative team that's looking at the business side of things. You also have a lot of stakeholders because you are working with the various PTAs of the various schools.
Yes.
And you're helping people have value and they're learning in the process. What's the takeout from today's discussion? I know we haven't had enough time, but if you want us to remember anything from the discussion today, what would that be?
That school farms, we have a model, school farms can be able to help reduce the budgets, government budgets that's allocated to Free Senior High School alone by more than 30%. So let's invest into these spaces. Let's invest into agriculture skills development for rural young people. Let's mainstream rural young people in agriculture and provide them the skills. And also we're looking, because this project has been tried for the past 4 years now, we're looking for partners to come on board, and we see how we can scale it across the country.
Right. Thank you so much. This has been Alfred Ajabing spending time here in the studio. Godwin Walter from Ho says that you are an inspiration to me and the youth of Ghana. School Farms is really helping schools in the Volta region. Hopefully we can continue this discussion sometime. But this has been exciting. We hope that we can have more of these interventions here in this country. Up next is the news at 2. My name is Yabanafo, and we'll be back on your radio same time next week. This show has been brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, they say good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Yendia. Thank you so much for listening. See you same time next week.
Thank you.